welcome to Dream It, Dare It, Do It, Live the Life You Want. I'm Jasmine. I'm the person that is taking care of this podcast. And today I'm so happy. Guys, you've heard of him. I've talked about him so many times. Here he is, Michael Neill. Hi, Michael.
Wait, he's real?
Yeah, he is.
We're making him up. Hi.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come and chat with me.
Nice to see you.
Same here, same here. So everybody who's listening, Michael, I've met Michael. I talked to Michael the very first time in 2013. Michael, you may not remember this.
Probably not.
Back in 2013, I was taking this class, and it was a sales class because there was a problem with me. I needed to know how to run a business. I had already been running a business for a while, but I took that class. Anywho, figured that out after. And inside this class, they said, we would like you to interview people that you would like to emulate. That, like you like what they do, we would like you to interview them. And I said, I'm going to interview Michael Neill. So I sent you a Facebook message and I said, hi, Michael, I'm in this class and they're asking us to interview. And I was wondering if you'd be willing to. And in my mind is like, this guy's so busy, he's never going to have time. And you replied, sure, reach out to so-and-so and we'll book this. And I'm like, what? And it's funny because we had this whole conversation about, the 3 principles. And back then you were doing Super Coach Academy, like very near, like it was coming soon. And you had invited me. You said, Jasmine, if you like this, I'm asking you, sign up to Super Coach Academy, like sign up. And I would have been with Marina and Win and all of that if I would have done it.
It was a good group.
I know. But it wasn't my time because now I'm with Rob and Georgia and Gary.
Also a good group. I don't know what to tell you.
So anyways, so it was really, really fun. Like, because that moment you told me, because I told you, well, Michael, it's pretty expensive. And you said to me, okay, Jasmine, just one thing. It's not about the money. And I was like, yeah, Michael, I know it's not about the money. I hung up the phone and I was like, you just don't understand. It's about the money. And today I really see how it wasn't about the money. It was about, I had other things that I needed to do first, and it wasn't Super Coach Academy, even though I thought it would be. And so I just wanted to share that tidbit with you it took me 6 years to get there, but I got there.
Yeah. No, well, there is no, I was just coming off the phone with a client before I called in to talk with you. And one of the things we talked about is just, we make up timeframes. We make up that it's problematic that something takes as long as it takes. And every now and again, you could do it much quicker. But a lot of the time, that's just how long it takes. And the fact that you've got an opinion about that is what makes it feel terrible, but it doesn't make it any quicker.
Yeah. That's such a big thing that I've learned, like I had this big client, like it was like he was coming in and I was talking to him and it was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then something happened and then they delayed and I had nothing like that. I was just like, okay. And I remember a time where I would have been like, oh man, and I had planned for this and like it made a crazy thing about it. This time, nothing. And I was even willing to lose them. Like I was like, it's okay. I'm fine. It's all good. Like I had no thinking about it. And that's a big thing, to be able to let go of the desire for it to happen. Is that control? Maybe it's control.
The word that's coming to my mind, which is, yes, that is probably control, but is we are mostly in a cultural habit of complaining. And we might not complain literally, but we're complaining in our minds all the time. this shouldn't be like that. And why is this like that? And what's wrong with this? And it's not that we're always inaccurate. It's that it's always irrelevant. Like, it is what it is for now. And the habit of complaining, of focusing on what isn't, just keeps us from both appreciating what is, but also from making it better.
Yeah.
So it's not this blind, oh, I guess I mustn't grumble. I guess I should just put up with it. No. But you can either do something about it or you can't. And if you can't, all complaining does is make you feel bad and make it easier to find people to talk to at the pub. Doesn't actually help.
Yeah. Yeah, the complaining and the worrying, right? I like, as you were talking, I was like, oh, worry is the same thing.
It's exactly the same thing. It's focusing on what isn't. I had an experience in London before a recent training where there was a lot going on and my head was kind of busy, and I could feel myself trying to drift off to sleep and kind of working myself up into a panic. Like I don't have panic attacks often, but every now and again I'll have one for old time's sake. And I could feel it coming, and I didn't know what to do with it. Like, I couldn't fix it. I couldn't just mind it away or whatever. And so I just did what I know to do in that situation, which was to just kind of stay with the feeling and ask for help. And I don't even know who I'm asking. Like, I just like, hey, I can't deal with this, help. And 30 seconds later, an old Sid Banks thing came to mind, where Sid Banks would say, what is, what isn't. And I mean, it sounds so simplistic. It sounds so basic, but it's actually incredibly profound. And that came to mind. And I remember thinking, okay, what is, what isn't? And all the stuff I was worrying about and winding myself up about was stuff that wasn't actually happening. And I thought, well, what is? And the only thing that came was man in bed thinking.
Mm.
And there was something about that. It was like, oh, man in bed thinking. Yeah, that's okay. I'm good with that. And it was gone. It was just done. End of. And there's something sweet about beginning to notice that. It's not a tactic. It's not a technique. It's not, so every time this happens now, I tell myself. It's just, that's what I saw. All that ever is happening is woman in studio talking and thinking, woman in bed lying down and thinking, man walking down street with dogs and thinking.
Mm.
And you know what? That's okay. Like, that's not really problematic for anyone.
That's what we do.
It's what we do. Yeah.
During Supercoach Academy, one of the things that you would say, well, the whole way through, it's kind of, okay, we're going to explore the nature of. And it was like, what is this nature of shit, man? I'm like, are we going to do that again?
Like, did I do it in that kind of William Shatner sing-song? Like, we're going to explore the galaxies and reaches.
Yes, you were. You didn't know this?
Cool. No, I like him. I'm glad I was emulating him. I didn't know.
But what's really interesting is that now I'm doing the 3P French community, and I'm telling them, okay, let's explore the nature of human beings. And I thought that was just so funny how all of a sudden there are things that made no sense to me when I was hearing them, and they do now. That's what it was reminding me, when you said it is what it is, it isn't what it isn't. There's I don't know what happens, and that's why I want to talk to you, because you could put words into things. Like, what happens to us? Like, I remember hearing, the past is the past, the future is the future, there's only the present, and I went, oh, like, it was like all of a sudden, oh man, there's just the present, there's just now, and I'd heard this phrase a gazillion million times. Why is it that sometimes the why really doesn't matter, but I'm interested in seeing what happens there. Is it because we're taking away layers of thinking and all of a sudden we see something new?
Well, what it looks like to me is human beings have two wonderful characteristics that they can do with their mind. We can conceptualize and we can know. We can know truth. We can recognize truth. And we can make shit up. Well, they're both useful in different ways. So what often happens is somebody will share a truth, a spiritual teacher, just a human being who notices something. And it'll strike us. We'll have that moment. But then we quickly turn it into an idea. We quickly turn it into a concept. And then we try to live by the concept. So it's a bit like, I don't think this would be offensive to anybody, but it is what it's like. We have a moment on the mountaintop talking to the burning bush, right? The voice of God. Like we're there and we're like, oh. And then we write it down on stone tablets, and we try to share the stone tablets with other people who then write them down on their stone tablets and go, well, this isn't as helpful as you say it is. Well, no, it isn't. What's helpful is the capacity to know it. And so I always say to people that I train, your secret weapon is you're pointing to something that's really there. So even if you're not that good at pointing, there's a pretty good chance people will see it. So it sometimes goes the other way, though. And I think what you're describing is almost the opposite of that, where you hear something as a concept. You go, interesting idea. Oh, we're living in the feeling of our thinking, not the feeling of our circumstances. That's cool. And then one day, we're sitting there thinking everything is crap. And we suddenly realize, oh God, no, everything is absolutely gorgeous. My thinking is crap. And then we go, oh my God, I'm living in the feeling of my thinking, not the feeling of my circumstances. Oh, that's what he meant. So it goes from concept to truth, to recognition, to knowing. And that's the game.
And that's what we do all the time.
It's what we do all the time. It's not inherently problematic. But if we don't know we're doing it, we don't understand why something that impacted us so powerfully or seems to impact other people so powerfully isn't impacting us. And it's because they're not being impacted by the concept. They're being impacted by recognizing something that's true. The thing about the past is the past, the future is the future, the present is all there is. That's actually just true. But it's also a cool idea.
Yeah.
And the problem is, it being a cool idea doesn't move the needle. Seeing the truth of it changes your life, changes the game. Yeah. That's why when I talk about the basic course and the advanced course, right? The basic course is understanding how life works, who we are, how we're made, how the mind works. The advanced course is, no, really, these aren't just ideas. This is how it works. This is who you are. This is how the mind works. Really helpful, really transformative in its effect.
So you've been in the conversation for a long time, right?
Yeah, I first came across this in 2007. So I guess 15 years, a little over 15 years now.
Yeah. So my question to you is, do you still go, oh, it's thought?
On a daily basis.
I remember the first time I did it. Isn't that crazy? It's like
You know what? I used to work with, 1 year as a coach, I worked with 3 professional close-up magicians. I don't even know why, because they didn't refer each other. I just happened to be working with 3 close-up magicians. And these were like top-level performing the big clubs, Magic Castle here in LA. And I would ask them to do tricks because I like magic. And I knew they were magicians. I knew they were doing tricks, and I fell for every one of them because they were really good tricks. Well, that's thought. Thought is the ultimate magician, close-up magician. It's always playing tricks on us. And we fall for it every time because it's a really good trick. But if we know that's what's going on, we don't get freaked out by it. We don't give ourselves, I never sat there going, oh, he got me again. What's wrong with me? It's because of my mom. Like, no. It's just a really good trick.
Yeah. It's all your mom's fault, Michael.
Well, that would be the other possibility. Yeah. I'll stay open to that.
Yeah. Oh, one of the biggest thought that I couldn't see, that it was true, because you did that exercise too. You're just like, what doesn't look like thought? And I'd be like, no, there's nothing in my world, because, I don't know, I didn't do it. And then I think months later, I could say a year after Super Coach Academy, I was in one of the classes. We were doing some version of, breakout room, and it was that question, and then I said, okay, well, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say, well, when I really want something, like when I really want it, it doesn't look like thought. It's like, I really want it. I'm telling this to this other person, and this other person says, oh, so you mean your preferences? She just says this. I bursted out laughing so hard. But that was the major breakthrough for me, because after that, when it was a preference, it was just kind of like, huh.
Yeah, and sometimes we have a choice. When I go to a restaurant, I get to choose.
Mm. The new thing that's appearing for me, Michael, is I'm starting to, because I can see my grounding is better. Just the fact that I'm talking to you, I can see my grounding is better, because I knew one thing that I didn't like about me. Well, it was about, I could see, nothing to do with me, but just I thought it had to do with me. I had these levels when I was talking to people. Some people were lower, some people were higher, so that bugged me. Like, I didn't know why, but it bugged me. It felt not true. Just felt not true. And now I'm starting to see, when I'm talking, I'm starting to see the taint. There's like a tint. When I first listened to you, it was really at the beginning of the Inside Out revolution for me. You were talking about the bowl and the water, and when we were afraid or when something happened, we would just muck up the water, and then there was a taint to the water. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to see the taint of the water. That just like mind blows me. Like I'm like, oh, there's a come from. There's like, oh, there's a taint of inferiority here. Oh, there's a taint of superiority here, or whatever. And I love that I can do that, because it's almost like la fumée. Oh my God, I only have the French word.
Go for the French.
De la fumée. When there's fire.
Yeah.
There's like this little, hold on. Hey Google, comment on dit fumer en anglais?
En anglais, on dit to smoke.
Smoke.
Que je traduise autre chose.
I couldn't come.
Yes, sure.
So it's kind of like smoke. There was like, once I see it, the smoke disappears. That's like, wow.
Yeah, my newest one that I've been seeing is just how radical it is to see that 100% of my experience comes from me and 0% comes from anything else. Now, I've known that. I've had glimpses of that, but I'm in a stage right now where I'm seeing it here and I'm seeing it there and I'm saying, oh, that's not my wife. That's thought. Oh, that's not my bank balance. That's thought. Oh, that's not the way it is. That's thought. And suddenly, I was talking to somebody. I've been talking about. I'm going to be talking about this a lot. Actually, you're the first person I'll run it by. But because I've seen something really cool. I heard a line. The ultimate response. The ultimate accountability is the ultimate freedom. Now, for me, this understanding is the ultimate accountability. 100% of my experience comes from me. Doesn't mean I control it and it's my fault, but it comes from me. It comes through me. It is my thought that I'm feeling and experiencing, no one else's. Even if somebody else said it, it's my thought I'm feeling. And 0% from out there. Well, that means there is no circumstance where I know what my experience will be like up front. I don't know this is going to be great or awful. I don't know this is going to be scary or exciting. I don't know this is going to piss me off or make me laugh. Because none of those experiences are a function of the circumstance. So it's the ultimate accountability. My experience is mine. Has nothing. It's an independent variable. But that's the ultimate freedom. Because that means I can walk into anything and I can sit with anyone and my experience is up for grabs. It's not a done deal. I don't have to avoid things for that. Now, there are still things I don't want to do. Yeah. There are still things if I have a choice, I'm not going to do. But my world's gotten so much bigger in such a short space of time because nothing's off limits. Oh, well, you can't do that because that's going to be too stressful. Not if I don't stress myself, it won't. Well, I can't do that because that's going to just piss me off. Not if I don't sit in a lot of pissy thinking for a while, it won't. And so suddenly my options have expanded dramatically because it's all me.
It's so funny that you're bringing this up, Michael. So I'm going to be a little vulnerable. Listeners, I'm just telling you, this is vulnerable. So I went to see my dad last week, and I grew up in the family where people would talk about my body a lot. And I went to see Dad, and Rob and I are pretty close, and we talk. Rob and I talk, and I kept telling him that people tell me I'm fat, and there's a problem with that, right? And Rob's like, well, is that really happening, Jasmine? So I'm kind of I'm seeing what he's saying. He's like, is it happening or are you just making it up? Can you clarify that? So I went to see my dad this week, and my dad look at me, and I'm having this moment where I'm just stretching, and I'm like, okay, Dad, I'm going to go home. I was so happy to see him. And he says to me, Jasmine, how much do you weigh? And I told him, it's none of your business. I got upset. And he's like, I said, I'm never going to tell you. And he's like, why? I said, because it's none of your business. I just didn't know why. I just didn't want to tell him. And then I said, now I'm leaving. And I left. And as I left a message to Rob, and I said, Rob, my dad just said it. I told you it's still happening. But I know that it's my experience. And I was like, it is something that he said, and he just said a few words. How much do you weigh? It's a benign question that has so much weight on me, pun intended. It has so much power over me. It stays with me. I was like, okay, so you're thinking it, you're having this feeling, and I can't see through it yet, but I'm seeing that it's me. He has some too. He has his own thing. I don't know what he's thinking about. It has has something to do for him to ask. He's got something going on, but who cares? I don't know what to do with it. I'm not as reactivated as I used to, because I used to cry and, that it was a big deal. Now I'm just kind of like, what the hell's going on? Like, and I don't need to figure it out, do I? I could just go, okay, I got thinking about it.
Not in my world. Funnily enough, I've got a podcast episode coming out. We recorded it a little while back, but it should be coming out soon, called Weight Loss for the Mind.
Okay.
And it kind of speaks to, boy, do we weigh ourselves down with our thinking. Like, we have really heavy thinking. And it makes everything a big deal. And when we lighten up, when we stop taking our thinking so seriously, when we start to see it for what it is, noise in head, then suddenly the answer to that question is a number.
Yeah.
Like 12. I don't know, 12 million. It's a number.
Yeah.
But we make that number mean something. We make the question mean something. We have a years of story and examples. And from that place, nobody's that nimble, right? Nobody's doing great when that question carries that weight, regardless of how something like that is intended. And I'm not talking about you. Like, we all get stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my sore point. Oh, they know that's my button. They shouldn't push my button. Oh, that's so unfair. It's like, no, it's still you.
Yeah.
Like, now, I may not be able to do something about it in the moment, but I know it's not them. And I love that I can feel warmly towards somebody because it feels nice to feel warmly towards them. They don't have to earn it. They don't have to be worthy of it. They can't lose the privilege by their behavior. I get to feel warmly towards people because I really like the feeling of feeling warmly towards people. I'm not giving that up cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just saying. Yeah. I could see how before I would be so busy with the anger and the thing. Like, I didn't go there. I texted Rob and I voicemailed him and I said, let's talk about it eventually. Just saying, just so that because I know, like, I like when you said it's just a number. Yeah.
But see,
I remember.
Here's the thing. I rarely, if we were like, we're having a conversation,
Yeah.
if I was working with you, that'd be the last thing I'd want to talk about. Because you got so much on it that it's going to be really hard to have a clean conversation. But it turns out that if you can see it here and you can see it there and you can see it there, at some point your brain just goes, oh, it's probably everywhere. And it generalizes and it's like, oh, here too. But like this idea that we're supposed to take on our big things. Well, why? Like, that just seems like a terrible idea to me most of the time.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And so I'm gonna full circle come back to dream it, dare it, do it, live the life you want. Because, like, I don't want to live a life where I'm like worried about that. I just don't. Like, the life that I want to live is a life of joy. And like you, I want to feel warm towards people. I do. I love people instantly. Where before I wouldn't let myself do that. Now I do.
It's nice, right?
Yeah. So much more fun. It's like,
there's a line in the movie Harvey with Jimmy Stewart where somebody asks him to get philosophical, and he said, and he's this eccentric guy, and he goes, well, in my life, I've learned that you either need to be extremely clever or extremely kind. For years, I was clever. I prefer kind. And that includes us. That includes being kind to ourselves. I didn't realize how poorly I treated myself for many, many years until I did. And then I was horrified. It was like, oh my God, if anybody had treated me the way I treated myself, I would have walked years ago. But I just didn't notice.
Yeah. But
the nice thing was, as soon as I noticed, every time it started to feel worse and worse and worse, to the point where it was like, oh, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just not going here anymore. Doesn't work for me. I'm out. And funnily enough, I don't have to go there anymore. Go figure.
I love it. Love it. Michael, thank you so much.
A pleasure.
Much for coming. You have anything going on right now? Are there any classes for people who'd like to sign up? Or
yeah, we've got the big one coming up. So it's the evolution of Super Coach Academy is the Genius Catalyst certification. And so we've got our next group beginning in June. And it's, because of the format, we've been able to make it about half the price of what Super Coach Academy used to be. So more accessible in that way. And it's just a delight. It's the most time I get to spend with a group of any of the courses that I offer. So there's lots of things. You can check out the website, but that's the one that's like the new big one. Very
cool. I just wanted to tell you that there's a big movement coming out from the Super Coach Academy circa 2020. They are requesting a reunion because, we were all virtual. And
that's right. It happened midweek of one of the training weeks. That's absolutely right.
So I'm just saying, we started talking in the group going, hey, are we ever going to have this reunion?
All right. Well, and with the Genius Catalyst, we're coming to Canada for the first time.
I know. That was my next thing I was telling you. I'm going to see you because I told Rob I was going to go see him. So I'm going to see you too, because you're not going to be there, right? Yeah. So hopefully I get to go have dinner with you guys or something.
Oh, it'd be lovely to see you.
Same here. Well, thank you so much. On this, I'm going to say, have a fantastic day. And to everybody else who's listening, I'm going to say, dream it, dare it, do it, live the life you want, and have a good one. See you next time. Bye-bye.